For decades, the United States has tried to shape India's path, believing it could influence the decisions of one of the world's oldest civilizations. But times have changed. India is no longer the silent partner waiting for approval from Washington. Instead, it stands as an independent power, confident in its choices and unwilling to bend to foreign pressure. Every sanction, every demand, every attempt to push India into alignment with American interests has only strengthened its resolve. The truth is simple. India cannot be controlled because it has learned to balance power on its own terms. Today, as the U.S. watches with unease, India rises with a voice that echoes across the globe. This is not the India of yesterday. This is a nation driven by pride, by growth, and by destiny. And that is the secret Washington cannot ignore. When we look back at history, it becomes clear why the United States has always struggled to bring India under its influence. During the Cold War, Washington expected New Delhi to align with the West. But India chose its own path, refusing to become just another pawn in the global chessboard. It leaned on the Soviet Union for military and strategic support, while at the same time presenting itself as a leader of the non-aligned movement. This independence frustrated America, which wanted India firmly on its side. Even in the 1990s, when India opened its economy and embraced globalization, it never fully surrendered its decision-making to U.S. interests. Yes, trade and cooperation grew, but the spirit of independence remained intact. The turning point came in the early 2000s when the United States signed landmark defense and nuclear agreements with India. Washington hoped that these deals would finally bring India into its orbit. But the opposite happened. India accepted the benefits, expanded its technological and defense capacity, and at the same time strengthened its ties with other powers, including Russia, and, more recently, even select partnerships with China. This was the secret strategy: accept cooperation without surrendering sovereignty. Over the years, India has mastered the art of strategic balancing. Unlike many U.S. allies who depend completely on American defense guarantees, India builds its own military capacity. Unlike smaller nations pressured by sanctions, India continues buying Russian oil, saving billions and fueling its growth. Unlike countries that collapse under economic pressure, India is the world's fastest-growing major economy, giving it leverage that Washington cannot simply ignore. In the end, the story is clear. The more the United States tried to control India, the more independent India became. This is why today, India is seen not as a follower, but as a rising superpower in its own right. Today, the clash between India's independence and America's influence is most visible in current tensions. Washington expects loyalty, but New Delhi refuses to compromise its sovereignty. One of the clearest examples is energy. When the U.S. demanded that India stop buying oil from Russia after the Ukraine war, India ignored the pressure. Instead, it increased its imports, securing cheap energy and keeping its economy strong. This move shocked Washington, but it proved India's ability to put national interest above global pressure. Trade has become another battlefield. The U.S. under Donald Trump imposed high tariffs on Indian goods, claiming unfair practices. In return, India retaliated with its own tariffs, signaling that it would not bow down to American demands. This trade friction revealed a deeper truth. India is not dependent on U.S. markets alone. With 1 billion-plus consumers and rising global influence, India can stand on its own economic legs. Even in defense cooperation, where America believed it had gained the upper hand, India has shown restraint. Yes, the two countries conduct joint exercises, share intelligence, and sign major defense deals. But at the same time, India continues to buy advanced weapons from Russia, proving it will not let Washington dictate its security policies. Modi's push for Atmanirbhar Bharat, a self-reliant India, further demonstrates the determination to reduce foreign dependency. What makes this dynamic even more complex is the personality clash between leaders. Donald Trump, known for his tough negotiating style, often saw Modi as too proud and unwilling to concede. Modi, on the other hand, used nationalism and economic reform to project strength, ensuring India was not treated as a junior partner. The result is a relationship filled with cooperation and conflict at the same time. A clear reminder that no matter how hard America tries, it cannot fully control India's decisions. Looking into the future, the balance of power becomes even more fascinating. The United States knows that it cannot afford to lose India, especially at a time when China is growing more aggressive in Asia. Washington needs India as a counterweight, a partner in shaping the Indo-Pacific, and a market for trade and defense technology. But needing India is not the same as controlling it. In fact, the very reason India's value is rising is because it has proved it will not become anyone's satellite state. That independence is its greatest strength. India's rapid economic growth gives it leverage that few countries in the world enjoy. Multinational companies are shifting production from China to India, creating new opportunities and making the country indispensable to the global supply chain. On the diplomatic stage, India is positioning itself as the voice of the global South, giving hope to developing nations that do not want to be caught in the rivalry between superpowers. This leadership role further strengthens India's global standing, while weakening America's ability to dictate terms. Militarily, India continues to modernize at a pace that alarms its rivals. With nuclear capabilities, one of the largest standing armies, and an expanding navy, it is making clear that its security decisions will be made in New Delhi, not Washington. For the U.S., this means accepting India as a true partner rather than a follower. Ultimately, the secret lies in India's philosophy. It cooperates with everyone but bows to no one. It can work with America, trade with Europe, buy weapons from Russia, and still maintain dialogue with China. This multi-directional strategy ensures that India remains in control of its destiny. And as the years ahead unfold, the world will watch as America adjusts to a new reality, an India that is strong, independent, and unstoppable. And so, the conclusion becomes unavoidable. The era when the United States could dictate terms to India is over. What we see today is the rise of a nation that has endured colonialism, economic hardship, and foreign pressure, only to emerge stronger, sharper, and more determined than ever. India is not seeking permission to lead. It is already leading. Every move on the global stage, from standing firm on oil imports to asserting its voice at international forums, signals that India is shaping its own future without asking for approval. For Washington, this is both a challenge and an opportunity. It cannot control India, but it can choose to respect and work with it as an equal. If the U.S. fails to understand this, it risks alienating one of the most important powers of the 21st century. If it succeeds, then the partnership could redefine global politics in ways the world has never seen. Arnold would echo with a commanding tone. India is not a follower, it is a force. The United States may be powerful, but it cannot bend a billion voices. This is the secret. India belongs to no one but itself. This is why the U.S. watches with caution, why other nations adjust their strategies, and why the world respects India's rise. The question is not whether America can control India, it is whether America can accept the reality that India cannot be controlled. And that, more than anything, is the true power of this new India.